Good evening and welcome to the February 17th, 2026 Board of Aldermen meeting. Could everyone please join with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Golds absent. Alderwoman Sims absent. Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
Alderman Erger is absent. Mayor Dermott is also absent. Alderwoman Tice.
Here. Thank you. Next, we have agenda approval. Does anyone have any changes or amendments to the agenda? Anyone have an objection to having it approved by acclamation? Seeing none, it will be so approved. It does not appear that we have any announcements, appointments, proclamations, or recognitions, which takes us to the first public hearing we have tonight. I will gavel in the public hearing, which is considering a text amendment regarding flood hazard controls.
Good evening. We are making this request based upon feedback from FEMA and to increase the overall buildings that are within a floodplain to 2 feet above base flood elevation instead of our current ordinance of 1 foot. And it also is to be a cumulative of 10 years versus on a case-by-case basis.
Great. So our advice from our city attorney the last time we had a public hearing was that we, as elected officials, would comment later during the bill portion. But if there are members of the public who would like to comment about this particular text amendment, now is the time to do so.
I'm not showing any interest on
Okay, great. Seeing none, I will gavel closed this public hearing. Next, I would gavel open a public hearing regarding a text amendment about construction projects that could be approved by staff.
Yes, and follow-up of the adoption of the residential design guidelines. And in order to lessen the load at the Architectural Review Board, we are proposing a text amendment that would allow staff review of those minor projects that are at the back of the building and not visible from the public right-of-way to be and are consistent with the design guidelines to be reviewed at staff level versus going to the Architectural Review Board. And the Architectural Review Board and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval.
Great. Are there members of the public who would like to comment on this issue?
I'm not showing interest online.
Okay, seeing none, I will gavel close this public hearing. And that takes us to citizen comments. And this is the time that citizens can come and approach the podium and give us your name and address. And you have up to 3 minutes to talk about any issue. And if you're online, you may do the same.
None online.
Okay, seeing no one coming to the podium. Next, it's Mayor and Alderman report. On behalf of Mayor Dimmitt, he is down in Jefferson City representing the city at the Legislative Conference of the Missouri Municipal League, which is why he is not here. And I'll go ahead and do my aldermanic report. Looking ahead into March, the March 10th Ward 1 meeting is coming up, and we will have the civil engineer Chantel from SWT talking about water runoff from the new Mount Calvary Park. There was lots of interest in that at our last ward meeting, and so just wanted to get that out there. Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. We have the public safety meeting for February is set for February 25th here in these chambers at 5:30.
Alderman Lockmuller.
No report.
Alderman Gould.
Yes, as a reminder, because of this meeting needed to be shifted, we moved our communications committee meeting, which will now happen on February 24th, so next Tuesday, a week from today, at 6 p.m. in these chambers. Thank you.
And then Alderwoman Harder.
Brentwood Forest meeting has been canceled for this month. It'll be the end of March. So other than that, that's...
Thank you. That takes us to the city administrator report, and it looks like we have something from BOLA.
Thank you, Alderwoman Tice. At the February 2nd meeting, we had 2 Ward 2 residents
in attendance, Alice and Michael Gleason, who live on Rosalie. They spoke during public comments regarding light pollution from the industrial court off of Lissinger. They also talked about construction material that have been stockpiled on a property also in the industrial court. Would you care to give an update, or should I do it? John? Oh, okay. John Benish, our chief building official, met with Carboline and Condiva on Wednesday following the meeting, and they say that Ameren put up the lights approximately 6 years ago, and Carboline was going to talk to them about adjusting the lights. So just to manage the timeline, in talking to Dan Gummersheimer, the city's public engineer, he says this is not a project that where they have a quick turnaround. It takes weeks, if not months, before they resolve that. But we've shared the contact information with John, so we will be calling periodically to find out the status update on that. They also talked about a chain link fence around the property. John took a look at that. It appears to be in good shape. There is construction trailer and material, they said. Apparently, that property owner is allowed to keep their storage or parked outdoor equipment and supplies on their lot. Lastly, there is a wood fence that is in poor shape. We think it needs to be removed. However, it is in the floodplain, so we will be working with the property owners to ensure that they do minor repairs to fix that. But we will, going forward, we'll put updates in the city administrator weekly report and then contact the residents that came to the meeting to give them a status update on where we are with what they brought to the meeting.
Great, thank you for that update, and it's a great example of how when you come and speak, you get some attention. So thank you very much. Next up is the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any items, or do you have questions about anything on the consent agenda? Seeing none,
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That takes us to old business. First up is Bill 6588. Mr. City Attorney, could we have a second read of that bill?
Bill number 6588, an ordinance granting site development plan approval for a new building at 350 Hanley Industrial Court.
Is there any additional discussion about this item? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6588 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Plefka?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Bill number 6588 is hereby passed and now becomes ordinance number 5214.
Great, that takes us to old business. We have 3 items, new business. We have 3 items. The first is Bill number 6590. Could we have a first reading of that bill, Mr. City Attorney?
Bill number 6590, an ordinance amending sections 400.450, 400.920, 400.930 in Division 4 and Division 8 of Chapter 400 relating to building permits for residential buildings and construction projects, and declaring when approval of the Architectural Review Board is required.
So I'll start with one question, Wendy. So I noticed in the materials in the packet that this wouldn't be for a room addition.
Correct.
But what kind of things would staff be allowed to approve? And then are they things that would the neighbors be noticed?
They would not be noticed if it's staff review, but it would be like a sunroom addition, small sunroom. If we've gotten a few projects that were changes from closing up a window and then making a new doorway. Those are things that could be approved at staff level. Larger room additions or anything that's clearly visible from the public right-of-way would still require public notice and Architectural Review Board.
Are there other questions from the board? Seeing no questions, we will hold this over and have a second reading in March. Our next item of new business is Bill number 6591. Could we have a first read of that bill, please?
Bill number 6591, an ordinance amending sections 400.2900, 400.2910, and 400.3020 of Division 8 of Chapter 400 of Title 4 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood regulating flood hazard controls.
Great. Are there questions from the board about this? Alderman Lockmiller?
Whitney, as far as understanding this level, if, for instance, a building is going to be built in an area that had a 6-inch floodplain, was in a 6-inch deep floodplain, so now they would have to raise it 2.5 feet above. The ground level would have to be 2.5 feet taller than it is now.
The first floor,
Yes.
not including the basement floor.
And then they say it's a SEMA recommendation. What if you don't do it? What's a recommendation mean? I mean, is there
Right.
no flood insurance?
It
then
would
made
stay
of
at the 1 foot that we have now.
Flood insurance could be impacted. A lot of the cities have moved to the 2 feet, and that's why they recommended that we do so.
All right, thank you.
Are there other questions? Alderman Gould?
Can you clarify, and maybe it's not in the ordinance, but it's in the description about buildings in a floodway. Now, I didn't think that you could build in a floodway. You could build in a floodplain. So can you clarify how that's?
There are some, excuse me, there are some instances where you can build in a floodway.
Okay,
Typically, you're not going to have residential in a floodway, but there are some non-residential buildings that can go into it.
okay. And then you talked about I'm just trying to get a sense for why FEMA and SEMA think that 2 feet up. Is it just because of it's not to mitigate less runoff, it's more to mitigate loss and
Correct.
insurance
Correct, yes.
payments?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Getting back to my example, when we look at the 50% improvement, so if someone adds on to their building more than 50% the current value of the existing building, that building now has to be raised 2
Well,
feet.
it's not that it has to be raised. They have to take measures to either flood-proof it or dry-proof or wet-proof. Dry-proof would include securing like floodgates at the doors to help protect the interior from any flooding.
So like you could do in my example, a 2.5 foot high flood wall around the property.
Correct, that could be it. If you take example of Carboline, they put in floodgates that will automatically go up when the water starts coming in. It actually pushes the floodgates up and shuts that off, shuts those openings off. So all the openings would have that.
And then, take for example down in our Manchester Road corridor, if we have someone come in and want to build an apartment building down in that area, they could still stick in a garage at ground level as long as the water can pass through?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Further questions? Second read of this on March 2nd. Our third item of new business is Bill number 6592. Mr. City Attorney, could we have a first read of that bill, please?
Bill number 6592, an ordinance amending sections 375.010 through 375.150 of Chapter 375 of Title III, repealing sections 340.100 and 340.107 of Chapter 340 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, regulating the use of alternative vehicles in the City of Brentwood, Missouri, and amending Section 225.040 of Chapter 225 of the Code of Ordinances regarding park rules.
And Jim, I understand you are presenting on this.
I am. Due to the advent of many new types of motorized and some non-motorized vehicles, often used by children, the city deemed it appropriate to look at its regulations to ensure that we're properly regulating the use of all these newly created vehicles. So recognizing that there are a bunch of different types of new vehicles, electric-powered vehicles, mini motorcycles, go-karts, and motorized scooters, recognizing that we have both minors using those on streets and sidewalks and in parks, as well as licensed adults using certain alternative vehicles such as the 49cc or under Vespa-like scooters, or even stand-upon motorized scooters that they use on streets for their own transportation purposes. We tried to revise the code sections to properly address regulation of all of those. What we did is we took Chapter 375, left lots of it the same. You'll note in the ordinance, it's not a red line version because the changes are too significant to, it'd just be a red line mess if we gave you a red line version. But we added some new definitions, identifying alternative vehicles, electric scooters, motorized alternative vehicles, et cetera. Then we left a number of sections unchanged, and then we really got into the meat of it in basically section 375.090, where we talked about motorized alternative vehicles, where they can be operated. And again, the goal was to ensure that young children are not operating these motorized vehicles upon the streets, regulating some of our main streets like Brentwood, Hanley, parts of Litzinger, Manchester, et cetera, to ensure that no alternative vehicles are operated there. And then recognizing that we still want to allow licensed adults to use vehicles where they should and are permitted to do so. Also understand we really did not change the regulations regarding e-bikes. E-bikes are regulated by the state. You can operate an e-bike wherever you can operate a bike. The only limitation is on Class 3 e-bikes. They have to be operated by people who are 16 or older, and we have the ability to prohibit Class 3 e-bikes on sidewalks, and we did that. The last thing about the revisions, or two other things about revisions to Chapter 375. Instead of stating specific penalties, we incorporated the general penalty provision like we do with most ordinances. We also added a parental responsibility provision such that if we have a minor who has been given a mini motorcycle and they're riding it upon the streets in violation of the code, we do have the ability to hold the parents responsible for that. That's found in section 375.140. Then lastly, in the amendments to Chapter 375, we have a table. It makes it a little easier for the residents to understand what's permitted and where. For the police officers who are enforcing it, check marks and X's indicate where it's permitted or prohibited. Lastly, the amendments to Chapter 340, we just took two sections from 340, moved them over to 375 because they made more sense there. And then in Chapter 225, which are the park rules, we wanted to make sure our park rules corresponded with our street rules regarding where you can operate those vehicles. That's it.
Thank you. I know there are several members of the Public Safety Committee who worked really hard on this this bill. Do any of you want to, Alderman Plufka?
I just wanted to say thank you to the Public Safety Committee. We spent, I think, the better part of 3 or even 4 separate subcommittee meetings on this topic, revising and revising again. I really appreciated the way all the members of that committee weighed in on this. We had members of the public weigh in and provide their input. I want to thank the entire police department, but I want to thank Officer Sullivan specifically for all of his work. And I want to thank Jim Hetledge, our city attorney. This was a lot to do, a lot in just identifying the various classifications that we're trying to regulate. And then and then trying to get some guidance from our committee as to what exactly we want this to look like in general terms, and then applying the specifics to the changes. And I also want to thank Michelle for putting together the communications effort, which is going to be equally important depending on the debate at the next meeting by this board. If this should happen to become an ordinance, it's going to be of great importance that we get the message out to our schools and to our residents so that they know exactly what these regulations do.
Great, thank you.
I want to thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gould?
The only thing I would add to that is that this is really complicated. This is a lot of, when you look at it, you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's a lot of regulation. And this is not about regulation for regulation's sake. This is about keeping children in our community safe. And I've had several residents express to me, and Steve, I know you've heard it the same, that they're really scared that one of these kids is going to tragically end up, on the wrong end of something like this. And so, this isn't, we never want to over-regulate things, but this is about public safety. This is about keeping kids safe. So I do thank everybody who's put input into this, because I think this gives our law enforcement at least the ability to start a conversation and engage the community in the right way, whereas right now there's nothing on our ordinances to allow them to even have a whole bunch of conversations. So this is a very good start, and I'm glad we took the time to go through it. So thank you.
I would echo at our Ward 1 meetings, I think probably for the last 9+ months, people come and every meeting they bring this up. So this is a concern for the community. Major Sullivan or Chief Speece, do you all have anything to add? Okay. Okay, if you couldn't hear that, the chief expressed thanks to our city attorney and to Major Sullivan. Any other comments on this? Oh, yeah, Alderman Lockmuller.
While there's a lot of verbiage in this ordinance, it's so easy for a parent that's thinking about getting their child a vehicle to just look at the definition, and like you said, Jim, go to that chart, and it just says right then and there in the columns where they can take it. If it can be on a trail, if it can be on a sidewalk, or what street. So I appreciate the people like me. It's almost like pictures and follow the pictures. So.
Other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will discuss this again in March. This is the second opportunity for a citizen comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak, or anyone online with a hand raised?
I'm not showing interest online.
Okay, great. Well, seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.